What is up, everybody? Hobby with Cage. 192 of these darn things. Brought to you by, wow, look at that. You put the green screen in the back there and just there's hands everywhere and it's all craziness. And I don't know if you can even see. Look, brought to you by Arena Club and Bleecker Trading. It's cards. It's Cage. It's the Hobby with Cage. I bring you cards. There's even a cage. I probably will never do this again because my head is going crazy. It's like a bad acid trip. And for the kids out there listening, that's nothing. It's just, ask your parents, I guess. Fun morning. I woke up energized. If you guys haven't seen it yet, go take a look, go take a listen. I did an episode last week that's not on my channel here. Not on the Hobby with Cage channel. It is with Valor Sports. I did let's call it a co-hosted episode. It's been a while since I've done something like that. And it was a marathon episode. Let me tell you guys, it's the real card show is what it's called there. I posted some links to it in my story and stuff. Maybe I'll post it again. Send me a DM if you need me to send you a link if you want to check it out. Wow. I think it was like 3 hours long. Been a long time. I don't know if I ever did a 3-hour episode, but it's been a long time. I finished the 2-liter. I could have gone back and get another 2-liter, but I would have needed a bathroom break. But man, an interesting show. And for those of you guys who are fans of the Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze 1,000 episodes that we did, you're fans of the back and forth with Andrew and myself. Not only did I have a little bit of that with Valor, but for the second half of the show, Andrew called in. Andrew stopped in. He was there. It was like a reunion show without telling anybody that there was a reunion show happening. It was just kind of, it happened. Went live. Andrew must have seen it and boom, popped in. And that was followed by the Wemby jersey swap dad who sold the jersey through Golden, him coming in, like actually joining and having some questions asked and going through the story about, selling the jersey and the jersey swap and, some background info. And that was fun too. A very different type of episode, a very different, a fun type of episode. And got a couple of messages telling me that I was the old Kanye for that one. So if you're interested in that type of content and seeing the old Cage Kanye come back, go ahead and check that one out. It was a little interesting. I think, I'll probably try to do that again with Valor. That was fun. I don't know if we can get Andrew to call in every time and a little bit of, drop a little bit of extra magic on top of it. But man, it was fun. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do. It's sort of, you can watch it because obviously, it's a video, but it reminded me of, every Friday I would do, laundry and I would have a few hours to myself and, go through cards and, be doing stuff around the house. And I would put on sports card radio in the background because it was like a 3-4 hour show. And, you can stop it. You can play a little bit at the gym. You can, put it in your car, whatever it is. This is, I thought, good kind of background stuff. If you're a hobby shop or, you got a few hours ahead of you of sorting cards and, you want to have in the backdrop, 3 hours, man, some fun stuff. I'll talk to Valor. Maybe we'll drop it again, but only if you guys check it out and tell me what you think. Because if you're like, man, that's stupid, well, that was a crappy episode, I'll never listen to another one of those again, I won't do it. I don't like wasting my time. And more importantly, I don't like wasting yours. So let's get it. Let's get it today. I'm in an interesting mood today. I'm going to tell you guys exactly where I am in the hobby space. And we can go from there, right? So it's going to be the cards. It's going to be the content. It's going to be all of it, right? Man, the space has changed a lot. And you kind of have to adapt with it. You really do. And I'm going to tell you, some days I wake up and it's just straight collector. And I have PCs that I don't really talk about. I have PCs that, stuff I enjoy. One day maybe I'll just bust them all out and I'll show you. I still buy cards for these guys because it's what I collected when I was a kid. And I know I say no one collects football cards, but it's funny. Back in the 90s, football was big. Football came out pretty strong. Basketball was too, but football, it's an interesting thing, right? I mean, I collected baseball first because I grew up, in the 80s. And baseball was it. Like, that was all there was. And yeah, there was the 86 Flair basketball set, and there was Topps football. No one really collected them. I remember buying some 85 football, the black borders. And I mean, what was I getting? Warren Moon, Joe Montana, a couple years. Nobody was really chasing that stuff. Baseball was huge. Then the 90s came and it was like, oh yeah, football. There's football cards, Shaq with 92, then football in the 90s, man, it was a lot of fun. You had Marshall Faulk, you had Drew Bledsoe, Dan Marino was a huge chase for people in cards. You just, that was what people were going after. Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, Jerry Rice. I mean, you had some real stars. And I collected Drew Bledsoe, and I also collected Isaac Bruce. I still buy Isaac Bruce cards to this day. I do. I still buy Isaac, but like the cards that I like, the Pinnacle Museum collection with the Dufex on it. I can't tell you how many I have of them. I like his 94 SP All-Pro and All-Pro die cut Hollowview cards, they're called. They have like a little hologram through it. I have more than a handful of each one of those. And yeah, I mean, like, so part of me wakes up and it's like, just buy the stuff that you like, buy the stuff that you enjoy, buy the stuff that, you're putting in your binders. Doesn't have to be PSA stuff. Doesn't have to be, anything like that. That I still do that. And, I'd like to make collector content about that too, but, the tough part about that from a content perspective is that that's so niche. It's so, personal. For collectors, it's, you're collecting your own guy, you're collecting your own way. People put pairings together, people do that stuff, and it's so personal that it's hard to make content out there, that is going to speak to the collector, because that collecting journey is, like I said, it's so personal. It's so unique to the individual collector and their journey itself that, the content that I try to make, it's more broad. It's more broad speaking. I think what I want to talk about is kind of, where I go in my collection and tell you where I am right now. And then it's going to shift. And that's part of the message for today, right? It's I know there's other people out there kind of like, what am I doing in the space? I know there's a lot of people questioning that, especially when, most of the content out there is like, all right, well, the hobby companies are terrible and the releases are terrible and we're all losing money. And why do I stay in this? And it's an interesting thing to kind of talk about, right? It begs the question of why you got in to begin with. And, I guess why you're still here. Is it because you like ripping product? Because I mean, it's coming. I ripped on Friday a box of Topps Chrome football. And, the unlicensed stuff, I think he plays for Washington. I got a tight end auto, Sinnott, Sinnot. My son opened it up and was like, who is this? We got an Xavier Worthy auto, which was fun. At least we know who he is. He was on our fantasy team. We drafted him this year. It's not the worst auto you can get, so not completely skunked, but like, no Tom Brady, not even a base card, no Caleb Williams, no Jaden Daniels, like no, not even base cards of any of these guys, no inserts, no nothing, it's one thing to be like, all right, okay, I didn't get a specific, Fanatics exclusive auto. Like I didn't get a Caleb Williams auto, but like we didn't get any quarterback card at all, like not even a base card of any of the big guys. So it was very interesting to open that box and be like, it's filled with Billy Sims, it is what it is. I digress. It's hard to, make a I call it a living out of that. If it's a hobby, great. It's tough to be a hobby when it was $350. I don't even remember how much I got charged for that box. $350, I think. They're pretty nuts. That's a lot of money for what amounted to basically junk. So I mean, enough of those, and you're like, what the hell am I doing here? I'll tell you what I'm doing here. And what's fun about this is somebody asked me to do this, and they were like, where are you in collecting? Like, what are you doing now? I would tell you that if I did an episode about this, and I probably did maybe a couple of years ago, maybe a year or two ago, where I was focusing my collecting dollars on and my money on, would be very different than today. And I think a lot of this has to do with kind of where I think the hobby is going to be in the next few years. I think what I've noticed recently is that there are more and more smart people coming in looking for specific types of cards. And I will tell you this, when I buy a card now, they fall into a couple categories, but there's one overarching rule. For me to spend money on a card, I'm not talking about a box of cards or a small card or just like a little, something for my son or my daughter. If I'm buying a card and putting real money down, I have to answer this question, yes. Is this something I will have a difficult time finding again? And for some of them, it's impossible to find again, whether it's a one of one, you name it. Is it something that if I don't buy now, I may not get another opportunity to buy the same or very similar card? Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be one of ones, right? Because I don't really buy too many one of ones. It doesn't actually have to be a one of one. But for me, for my PC, for my, collecting now, really where that is taking me is it's kind of two categories. It's kind of like when we talk about like prism stuff, like non-auto, you name it, just like the regular cards. It's basically true gold. And if it's top chrome, black out of 10, sometimes true gold. But basically true gold prism, not waves, not, whatever the heck else they're doing, but there's 10 of them. And if you don't get it, who knows when you're going to get the next one. Now, PSA 9, 10, BGS 9.5, whatever it is, I kind of don't really care about that anymore. And I've moved my thought process and my collection away from cards that are dependent on the grade. As a matter of fact, I don't know that I own anymore any card that the value is completely tied to that 10. And that was a huge part of my collection for a very long time. And I've started actually moving a lot of those cards. I mean, Pokemon's a good example, sort of, the junk whack stuff's a good example. I'll always have a couple of fun ones from that era, right? But, I'm selling cards that, are completely dependent on the grade. And this is going to sound ridiculous, right? But somebody like me who I love vintage baseball, right? I never move a 33 Gaudy Ruth. I'll move them now. I have, PSA 4s, PSA 5s, PSA 4.5. Nice cards, you name it. But they're the kind of cards, and go with me here because this is kind of the topic of the day. They're the kind of cards that I sort of know what they're worth. I know what I can get for them. But the reason I know what they're worth and what I can get for them is because they're pretty liquid. Because if you go into the golden auction right now, a card that I have a 4.5 of, there's a 5 of. If you go into, Fanatics Collect, there'll be a 4 or 3.5 of the same card next month. And Heritage will have one. And it's not something that is difficult to replace. And in my mind, what I'm doing now is if I have an opportunity to pick up an item that fits what I want to own long term, and I can sell one of those type of cards to buy this new, harder to replace, if not impossible to replace item, That's what I'm going to do with my collection. I'm actually going to start moving, and have done this, some of my, what I would consider PC items, some of the old baseball vintage, some of the old stuff that, I'm not saying they're bad cards. They're great cards. You know what I mean? But if you happen to hold a PSA 2 or 3 Mickey Mantle, unless it's one of these fantastic eye appeals that you're not going to get back, and even then, you might as well, if you could move it for a lot more money because of that eye appeal, you still can move it. There's a 52 Mantle for sale almost every month, if not multiples every month, in various grades. If you have just a standard run-of-the-mill 2 or 3 and you want to move it because there's another card available for $40,000 or $50,000 that you're not going to be able to replace, I move that card. I know how iconic a 52 Mantle is. Look, I got one behind me. It's right there as my backdrop. But if another card fits into your collecting or investing strategy, yeah, you're allowed to say that. It's okay to move one of those more liquid cards. And here's why. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this. And again, collectors, I get it. You don't even think like this. It's like, hey, I collect Isaac Bruce. I'm just going to keep buying as many Isaac Bruce cards as I can. Fine. But for the folks out there who are looking to buy stuff that may appreciate in value, and I think that's a large segment of what's out there. And I kind of have both. I try to do both. There are some things that scratch my collector itch. My Drew Bledsoe collection is something that would make Drew Bledsoe jealous. Actually, it would probably make Drew Bledsoe make fun of me. But I still buy his stuff. You know what I mean? But the interesting thing is, on the other side of the coin, I'm trying to buy cards that I think are good and sound investments. And really where my brain is now is, I believe that 52 Mantle is an awesome card. I think it probably will go up in value slowly and steady over time, as it has. But if you think about that slow and steady, if another item, another piece comes available that is not going to be something I'm going to buy in a year or 2 years, it's something that if I don't grab it now, someone else is going to grab it and it's going to be locked away and I'm not going to be able to get it. That piece, that harder to replace piece, is something that probably will increase in value at a faster rate than that 52 Mantle. But if I miss out on that piece that is harder to replace, that piece that I might not be able to replace, the next time it comes up for sale might be 5 years from now, and it's going to be at a significantly higher price. Whereas that Mantle will come up several times over the next 5 years. And 5 years from now, I'll be able to buy that Mantle at probably higher than what I sold it for, but it won't go up as high as some of these other items are. And that's kind of where my brain is now on the PC, guys. There are cards that I'm making available that I didn't ever think I would make available, Wilt rookies. Mantle, Ruth. These are cards that I can replace. And I think if I were to sum it up in kind of one sentence here, it's the only thing I'm putting my money in now is stuff that I don't think I'd be able to get another chance to buy for a while. And even when that opportunity comes up, I think it'll be significantly more expensive to buy them. These cards that are impossible to replace, cards that if I let someone else buy it, they're just going to lock it away, and I'm not going to have a chance to get it at that price. That's kind of where my brain is now on the collections. I've spent more money this year than I spent last year. I spent more money last year than the year before. I'm buying higher dollar value cards now. And they're cards that when I get them, I plan to just lock away, and they're not like flipping cards. They're cards that I think will increase in value, appreciate over time. And yeah, that's where my brain is on the collecting now. I hope we didn't have too many internet issues. I'm going to play this back. I hope it works. All right, guys, so let me know what you think about this kind of strategy. If you're in the same spot or you think I'm just an idiot and I'm overthinking it. And also let me know what you think about the other, format, the one with Valor. If you like it, I'll do more. Brought to you today by Arena Club and Bleecker Trading. Take care, everybody. See you at the Philly show if you're going. Send me a message if you're going to Philly show. Take care, everybody.